Jim Graves of Wilson Graves Road in East Shelburne, and I am a co-owner of the Graves Glen Farm. My brother Edwin is the ninth. My son is the 9th generation to be on this farm. We have a centennial ward. We have date back. We have the oldest house in the town of Shelburne. It was built in 1762. We've been in the operation of dairy and apples and potato growing and different things for the number of generations. Today we're in the oldest house in the town of Shelburne, and it was built in 1762 by a ship's captain. There's a house that was built up in one of the fields that is probably 1,200 feet from here. It used to be on the Jacksonville Stage Road from Greenfield to Jacksonville. It was a tavern for a few years, and in those years it got windy up there, and very strong winds up in the morning. There was a history that goes back with the tavern, because the locals used to go around to the different taverns and try to drink the taverns dry, and then it gave a bad reputation for the tavern. So when this was a tavern, a bunch of local folks came in to drink it dry, and the innkeeper and the tavern owner got his son out of bed and put him on a horse and sent him over to the next tavern, which was about 1.5 miles away. It's near the meditation center. Right now it is on the Corrigan Road, and brought home 2 jars. They're about 2.5 gallons apiece of alcohol. And so when the boys had just about cleaned up the alcohol, the innkeeper brought in those 2 jars and says, "Boys, drink up." Well, that kept the reputation real good that tavern was never drank dry, which was this house. So then, when from years on after that, it was a windy spot, and they used oxen and trees. They moved the tavern in this older house down in this area here, which was protected by trees and didn't get as much wind. So at this time, they had added on an L on this house, and in the L, studding in the walls, there's dry brick, which we found in 1970 when we were rewiring it, because my brother Edwin lives in the L section, and we have no idea what the dry brick were for. It's not really an insulation, but in the past, a lot of Indian arrows were stopped by a lot of bricks. My grandmother was one of 12 in Hawley, and they used to lay 12-inch planks, one on top of each other, when they built the house up there to stop renegades coming in. The protection was the walls were like a fortress. So that must be the only reason they put dry brick in this house. The design of the house by the ship's captain and built like a ship, everything was on angles. And all the framing on this house goes to a 5-sided carrion ridge pole. There's one length ridge pole all through the length of the house, and all the rafters come into that. It is constructed so that this house would stand without any dividers in the house for rooms. It's suspended. In the older houses, they had all the wainscoting on the walls and the wider boards. Our widest board is over 2 foot wide. This was a piece of furniture that one of the relatives in the Graves family, when they lived down where Ronnie Wright is on Leiden Road, and they were built out of butternut, and these pieces in the secretary for the grain of the wood, and both doors were cut from the same piece, so they have the same design. It was a handmade item. The secretary comes down and has pull-outs here, lays over for your writing desk. These are some of the antique pieces, along with a grandfather clock of the family on it. This was made by my grandfather, Galen Johnson, in Buckland. My sister lives up on the Johnson Homestead in East Buckland Road. And this was made when he was about 10 years old with a knife, and people didn't have many things to do, but they kept themselves entertained between putting a ship in a bottle and so on. And this was a short piece of wood, and when he got done, by cutting out the links, he lengthened the chain more than a foot, with also the swivel in it that was made. I can't imagine a 10-year-old today sitting down with a knife and whittling out a wooden chain. But that's what they would do in past years. It's quite a work of art in the handicraft, and he was a Finnish carpenter, made cobbler's benches and houses, and where different places on State Street were built. His house up in Buckland was built in 1896. It's a two-story now. They got the field stones off the place. They put the foundation up. The initial cost of the house was $800 that went into this house, that mainly just for windows and nails. All the woodwork and everything else was done. It's all cherry floors, that type of thing. The craftsmanship and the workmanship that went into it. Today, Larry showed up here to talk about the maple syrup and the production of maple syrup. Yeah, but it's one of those cold days that we've had come along. It was a winter type feeling day, and so we're in the barn, and this is something that we do twice a day. It's part of our operation that we have, is milking cows. We have around 62 milking cows at this time. There's 135 head in the operation. What we do is, as we milk twice a day, about every 12 hours. The cows come in from a freestall barn that we had built in 1973. We moved out there. The cows have their street lights. They have heated waters. They have their own beds. They're 4 by 7 foot. They sleep out there. We clean the alleyways with a tractor twice a day, and we bed that down. They come in to a holding area. They come into these 9 stalls. We rotate our milkers from one cow that's being milked. We prepare this one and move the unit over to her. The one that is done goes out, and another set of comes in to be milked. We feed a mixed feed from UCF, a grain mix that they are eating right now, and it costs us in the vicinity of nearly $40,000 a year just to feed the prepared grain that we buy. The process of milk secretion, the blood flow goes across the cow on their upper side. The flow from the heart comes along the back and down the bag, and as it lactates through the bag, it secretes the milk. The blood flow comes back through into the milk veins that are along the bottom side of the belly, and a good producing cow has these milk veins come along 3/4 of the way up through back to the heart to get the flow back into the system. And the cow, we prepare the cow with warm water. We wait a couple minutes before we install the milking machine. And the milking machine is the Surge outfit and pipeline milker. It is run by 14 inches of vacuum, which keeps the machine on the cow. It has pulsation that squeezes the teat, and as it squeezes, the vacuum pulls the milk down out of the udder. The system is run on vacuum. As the milk comes down through the inflation, which is a silicone inflation, the older ones were always a neoprene. These are silicone, and they're good for up to 2 years. This system in here, we have fiberglass with a weight in it, through a neoprene into a globe. There's an air hole in the globe to let air in so that it sucks the milk up into the pipeline. And as the pipeline takes the milk, it's all gravity fed into the milk room where there's a receiving jar that accepts the milk with electrodes in it. When the electrode is touched by the liquid, it pumps it in toward the tank through a cube cooler. The 3-inch line from where the cows are being milked comes in on a 3-inch stainless steel line in the receiving jar. The milk comes in the bottom half, and the air goes out into the blender and then back to the pump. As it comes in here and fills up, there's an electrode that the milk touches. When it gets full enough, it activates this pump, which pumps the milk through the line, and it'll start the pump like this, automatically, pumping the milk through the line into a cube cooler, which there is 30 feet of piping, with there's well water going through the outside of the pipe, and the milk goes through the inside. We have the process of taking the milk, which is 101 degrees from the cow, her body temperature, running it through and coming in contact with water that's in its 40s, bringing the milk down to about 50 before it reaches the cooler. So we're running 3 gallons of water for every gallon of milk that goes through the cube cooler. When it comes out of the cube cooler, there's a stocking filter in line here before it drops in the tank. And then it goes into the cooler, which is picked up, this cooler is picked up every day. And there's a 3-horse compressor motor with coils on the bottom, dimples, and it cools the milk down to between 35 and 37 degrees. While it's being cooled, there's also an agitator on the top. This is the agitator in the milk cooler, and as that turns, it keeps the milk flowing across the cooling plates that are in the bottom, so that the milk won't stick or freeze to the bottom if it just sat there. And also mixing in the cream in with the whole milk. The milk is whole milk, raw whole milk. It is 441 test. So when you buy it in the store, you get a 1% or 2% test. The butterfat is removed out of the milk and homogenized and pasteurized. So it goes through the process. So the cream that is at 4% in this, they take out and they make products like the ice cream and creams for berries and things like that. So when you're buying 1%, there's 3% taken out and homogenized. It is so that the cream is always mixed in. If this milk is put in a container, the cream will rise to the top because cream is lighter than the milk. So when we use it, we use the raw milk. We have to shake the container to get the cream to mix back into the milk. And that's why when you buy it in the store, it's all homogenized. They do the blending so that it doesn't separate in the refrigerator. So when you take it out of the refrigerator, you're ready to use it. Milk truck driver comes in the morning. He's in here about 5:30, 5 to 5:30 in the morning. Harris's Milk Transport from Belchertown, Mass. It's a triaxle and picks us up. He comes in the morning. The tank is very quiet. It's all shut down. He pulls this up and takes a reading. It is a dipstick that has 32 inches of measurement on it, and it has 32 segments. Each inch is broken into 32 parts. He takes the reading, let's say, of 19 inches and 4/10. There is a chart that tells the exact pounds, and there isn't. We go by pounds that we ship, and it's the pounds on that stick that we get paid for. We have a calibrated chart that he goes over and takes that 19 inches and 4/32 and fills out a slip in triplicate, and we get paid on the poundage that he takes. The trucker gets paid on the poundage that is hauled. There's a $7 stop charge plus the trucking of every pound of milk that he moves on the hundredweight. He comes in the morning, stops the truck, takes out an 1.5-inch hose and power line, runs it through the hose port so the milking door stays closed. He hooks the hose up to the bottom of the tank. He takes off the cover off the bottom of the tank, and he hooks up the 1.5-inch hose. He plugs in the power source, and after the tank has all been measured, then he starts the agitator. He stirs the cream into the milk before taking samples. He takes bacteria samples and cream samples. After he has it all stirred for 5 minutes, he does those samples, then he opens the valve, starts the pump in the truck, and removes the milk out into the tanker. The tanker holds somewhere in the vicinity of 45,000 pounds of milk, or 450 gallons. We bring the units in that are out in the barn that milk the cows. They all go into the sink. The units go down into the sink, the claws do, in the inflations. We open them up and we rinse off the inflations with cold water. We start the dial. The dial lets in 110-degree water. There's an electromagnet on the bottom that shuts the flipper, fills up the sink with water, shuts off the water. Same thing as it does in a clothes washer or dishwasher. This thing is automatic on washing all the equipment. The water goes through the inflations into the pipe, through the 3-inch stainless steel line. There's an air injector. It hits that water and goes 80 miles an hour washing this system. When the water comes back to the receiving jar, it is pumped through the pump, back into the sink, through this system here. We change the piping over to here, runs across, the water comes back in the sink and runs this system for 10 minutes. After that 10 minutes, it drains out the bottom, the water comes out, then it puts in 175, the drain closes, 175-degree water comes in, which is, these have soap in them. This container contains soap. It runs through a wash cycle when it gets full, and starts and does the same thing for 17 minutes, runs soap through it, drains that off, shuts the flipper, lets in an organic acid, which is made from orange juice, grapefruit juice type of thing. That cuts the butterfat on the pipes. This system goes through, and then it's all shut down in a matter of, it takes 100 gallons of water twice a day, and this system's all set until we're ready to start milking tonight. We'll set the clock for 6:30. The system fills up with water and a sanitizer to sanitize the inside of the pipe, and does the same system. And then everything is ready to go back in the milking area and have the cows come in and start milking. So it's a self-contained washing system. We have a new arrival this morning. It's a little girl, and was born only about an hour and a half ago. This is mother's lapped it all down. It looks kind of wet, but when they're born, they're really wet. And the mother grooms them, gets them all washed and lapped, and their hair's all the way it's going to be. And as they are being lapped, it kind of stimulates the blood and makes them feel warmer. It's quite a shock to come out of a 101-degree animal into the air that's completely different from what they're used to. The legs up under him. This one's going to lay down. He's tired already from trying to walk. And they aren't used to laying down yet. They don't know just how to do that. But when they get up, they flounder along and try to get their feet under them. And every time they try, they get their legs strengthened up more and more until they get up. Then they'll fall down and try again in a few minutes. It's the only way using the muscles to get the strength to stand up. This one here will nurse its mother in a few minutes, or when it gets hungry. Sometimes they aren't very hungry for 12 hours. By tonight, the calf system that was fed from the umbilical cord will be in need of food, and then will really be active. But they are amazing how fast they come about on getting their feet up under them and getting motivated.